Hey guys and gals, hello, hello, hello. How is it going today? Give me a sec. I'll be quick here. Just want to make sure everything's good on the stream. That we're good. One sec. I'll be quick here. Yes. All right. Perfect. Perfect. Whoops. So many tabs going on. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Okay, that works. All right. Hey, guys and gals, what is good? What is good? Some more mod things quickly. One sec. Okay, there. In case you're wondering what I'm playing, I love this one. This is on. What's there in chat for you? Okay, this is the channel. Guess you got to be part of chat to find out what I'm listening to. Let's go. All right. Yes, what a beautiful day. What a beautiful day. I know recently I've been kind of just replaying some of my older content, kind of back in my newbie days. When I was still learning C++ 2 years ago. October, what was that? October. Give me a sec here. Back in October of. Prior to doing that streaming, guys, gals, of course, naturally, I spent a year learning prior to streaming. Whoops, don't mind me. Hey, welcome. Thank you for being here, stopping by. I'm going to get going to theory here. We're just starting out. It's great to have you. It's nice to see people that want to learn and actually have good information in your mind, in your brain. It's awesome. Let's see, I started, well, I'm going to say 3 years, right? October, what was that, 2023? Just looking at my notes here, I did have that, I think, written down, copied, and yeah, October 2023, when I kind of started streaming on YouTube, C++. Prior to doing that, obviously I was studying for a good year before I started. Once you get the basics down in that. But I'm going to get into theory. Again, kind of been just a little bit about myself. Been doing the coding thing for about 3 years now. I also have a background in C#. Not to kind of bring up my YouTube channel, but on that channel, I kind of got away from Twitch for a while, which I regret to say. I should have stayed. YouTube was kind of when I started streaming. I was kind of doing gaming in that back then, and so, and then I got onto Twitch and met lots of great people. And then I'm like, yeah, I just pulled a stupid. I won't lie, guys. I went to YouTube thinking that I should have, that how do I say this? That my faith, my commitment and dedication should have been to YouTube. YouTube turned their back on me, basically, and I learned the hard way. And now I've jumped back here to Twitch. I'm doing the coding thing instead because I like to believe there's more intelligent people here on Twitch. I wish I stayed. I regret to say that left. To those, my friends here on Twitch now, I sincerely apologize. I don't know what else to say. You can't give me a hard time because I'm giving myself the worst hard time ever. Anyways, so on YouTube, I've been doing Unity stuff as well. I self-taught myself to how to use Unity, and of course, Unity uses C# language. So I do have Unity content on there. Maybe eventually I'll get into doing Unity stuff if you guys are interested. I was, obviously started with C++, grinding that out, and then I got into Unity and then doing C#, and now I'm kind of back to C++ because I kind of missed it, and I didn't want to lose my experience. I didn't want to lose the knowledge, right? It's kind of like that. It's kind of a thing you got to kind of keep it going, right? If you're changing to different languages, of course the syntax and such is a little bit different, but C++ basically talks straight to the processor. There is terminology with the other languages, like the other languages. I don't know how to explain it. In the next video, I'll try to get that information to explain it better to you guys. Okay. Anyways, let's get into this. It's great to have you. I'm gonna bring up kind of a background image here. I'm gonna kind of read through a course outline that I have for you guys. So I hope you don't mind to have this kind of for a background. Eventually, like I do have Visual Studio up just to kind of give you a quick look. It's up, it's sitting in the background. Maybe I'll do a video on how to set that up, how to set up Visual Studio and what else not, right? If you guys are interested. That is the IDE I'm using. So eventually I'm going to be, writing code on that for you guys and gals, okay? Awesome sauceum. It's great to have you here. Let's get into this. I don't want to bore you too much, but try to stay awake. Hopefully you got something to drink and you're wide awake. Let's get into some theory because the theory is really kind of important with coding. Anybody could write code. It's kind of like writing, anybody could write, but if you don't know what you're writing, what does it even matter, right? So having an understanding and kind of like, the way I say it is you got to kind of think like a computer, all right? Which is kind of weird to say, but you kind of do. So, but we'll get into that. Let's learn. Great to have you here if you're interested in learning a new language. C++ is kind of one of the hardest languages. All the other ones are kind of like kindergarten. I hate to say it that way, but really it is. They dumb it down to make it easier for people to learn. So I'm not being disrespectful to you guys. If you guys want to learn C++, you got to just have the drive and the commitment is what you need, right? And get away from any distractions in your life too, so that you can focus and learn and grind. All right, let's do this. It's great to have you. Let's go. Turn it up. All right, so this course, I'm going to try to read. I'm better at math and writing code and that. I suck at typing, and I'm going to do the best with reading. Okay, guys? So bear with me, all right? All right, here we go. So this course is designed to help you teach yourself how to program with C++, okay? C++, just to let you guys and gals know, it's the predecessor to the C language. The syntax is different in C, quite a bit different actually, but C++ is kind of carried over from C language. There's a lot of syntax and background commands and what else nots. The terminology, the theory, the basic fundamentals, they're quite similar and the same, but it's just syntax. Essentially is different, that's all. C++ is kind of obviously after C. So this is awesome language. Once you guys get it, man, it's great. I mean, it does get pretty high level, some of the stuff, but let's get through the basics and get into like learning variables and functions, and then eventually get into encapsulation and inheritance and all that with classes. Once you get that, man, it's fun, guys. It really is. Okay? And then the best way to learn the code, just grind code. That's what you have to do. That's how you learn, okay? You can't cheat, you can't be lazy, you can't chat GPT or I mean, you can Google search for help and support. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't cheat yourself. You have to write your own code. All right, let's go. Quick drink of coffee here, just to get rid of, the dryness in my mouth here from talking. I'm not really much of a talker. Usually when I'm working, I'm very silent and quiet. Let's go. All right. Okay, so no one can learn a serious programming language in just 3 weeks. Okay, that's not realistic. All right. This course is kind of like learn coding in like 21 days. I guess really you're gonna, if you push and grind and read and do all the reading and the grinding, and you have to have serious commitment and a desire and want to do this. You could do it. You could get all the fundamentals and learning down in 3 weeks, definitely. But at that point, that's when you start when you want to begin grinding your own code. Okay. We're going to do a lot of examples, a lot of different practice things, and, learn a lot of different things, okay? I'm going to try to stay on track and stay focused here, all right? So, but I give you kind of some aside information, I guess, if you will. All right, so each of these lessons are designed so that you can read, hear, listen, the entire lesson in just a few hours just by listening, right? Obviously, I don't know why I'm even reading that. But anyways, basically the gist of it is you could get through a bunch of lessons just by, putting in some time, a few hours or whatever in a single day. And it's kind of like steps, right? You do one step, you learned a lot, and then the next day you learn some more and you take another step, but you have to do the review as well, right, on each step. You'll learn about you'll learn about such fundamentals as managing input and output, loops and arrays, object-oriented programming, templates, creating C++ applications, all in well-structured, easy-to-follow lessons, okay? I'm going to also do my best to explain kind of what's happening in each, in all the code that I write, okay? Lessons provide sample lists, complete with sample output, and an analysis of the code, right? That's kind of the gist of what I was getting at. To help you become more proficient, each lesson ends with a set of common questions and answers. I'll give you guys or whatever some of those, maybe a quiz, some exercises. It's all going to be random. Okay. You don't need any previous experience in programming. If computers are something that you really love and you're interested in, it's quite possible that this is for you. Okay, so you don't need any previous experience. You can learn from scratch. I had some basic background before I started. years later. I wish I did this when I was younger. In all honesty, I kind of missed the boat. A lot of this I'm doing for you guys. If you're young and you don't know what to do in life, like I was your age at one time. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I took engineering, design, and drafting. I actually started with electrical engineering. I'm an educated country boy. Okay, maybe that's why a lot of people can't relate to me, because yeah, I'm quite a unique person. I really am. I'm not like the typical, what people think of, right? I'm not like that at all. Quite the opposite. Okay, brains and brawn. Got them both. Okay, so this course starts you from the beginning and teaches you both the language and the concepts involved with programming C++. You'll find the numerous examples of syntax and detailed analysis of code, an excellent guide as you begin your journey in this rewarding environment. Again, guys, you gotta watch these videos too, because unless even if I publish them, which I probably will, they only last a week on Twitch, guys, because they obviously are too cheap or whatever. I don't know. They don't have the server system that YouTube has. YouTube has like a huge database. It has to, because everything's saved on their servers. Anyways, yeah, we're only allowed to save for a week. It's crazy. So you don't want to miss out. Okay, you're gonna want to watch the videos, because again, the videos are only going to be on my channel for a week, unless I download them or transfer them to YouTube. I don't know. Again, it goes from 1080 to 720 when that happens, right? Okay. Bits and bytes, right, over the network. Okay, you'll find, let's see, continuing on, whether you're just beginning or already have some experience programming, you'll find that this course's clear organization makes learning C++ fast and easy. As long as I could hurry it up. I need to hurry up. Okay, let's see. Going through this. Okay, at a glance. As you prepare for your first week of learning how to program in C++, you will need a few things. You'll need a compiler. Okay, I'll get into that and I'll show you guys and gals. There's different IDEs out there. I'm using Microsoft Visual Studio community version. So if you want to get a jump on things, just do a search. I don't know if you're using Google or whatever browser you're using or search engine. It's free, guys. Microsoft's awesome. They truly are. All you really need to do is open up a brand new, fresh C++ compiler. That's what you want, an empty console application. Again, I'll say it so you understand. You'll create a new project, right? I recommend everything be on your C drive. Okay. Always have a backup filing system too on a different hard drive or whatever you're using. Depends on your system. Okay, so you'll open up a brand new C++. In the search bar, just type C++, and it'll say something to the effect C++ empty console application. Something to that effect. That's what you want. But first off, obviously, you're going to have to download Microsoft Visual Studio and community version. Okay, free open source, guys. It's $5,000 software, easy. You know what it takes? You know what's involved to create this application that we're using? It'd probably take a person 10 years to make it by themselves. Anyways, it would. Everything takes time, guys. So that's just a heads up for you. So if you want to kind of get an early start and have it all ready by the time we start writing code, you'll be ready. Okay? Otherwise, I'll kind of try to do a video to show you. All right? It's great to have you here. Thank you for being here and watching. Again, you're at a higher IQ, 120 above IQ, whoever is following the channel, whoever is watching and listening. You're one of the 120 in IQ clubs. I'm just going to say that. All right. So the best way, let's see, where am I here? Okay, so you'll need a few things: a compiler, an editor, and obviously me, this course. If you don't have a C++ compiler, again, that's all you need. Like my Visual Studio, it has their own console. Actually, the compiler is what converts your language, the code you write to machine language. That's what the compiler does. Console application. That's what you need. An empty C++ console application. That's all you need right now. Okay? With Visual Studio. Okay, an editor. So it's called an editor or IDE. Okay? But you won't get as much out of it if you need it to do the exercises, right? How else are you going to practice coding? There's code blocks as well, and then there's also another IDE I can't think of off the top of my head. JetBrains, is that it? Something to that effect? Depends on what you want to use. There are other ones out there. It's up to you whichever IDE you want to download. Okay, so the best way to learn to program is by writing programs, guys. That's key right there. Okay? You have to do your own grinding. You have to break code. That's how you get better, guys. I'm telling you, is it right from the start here. That's how you learn, and that's how you're going to get better. You got to make mistakes. You got to make errors. Right? I'm going to say this and repeat this stuff in the future, okay? Okay, and there's nothing wrong with doing searching for help. And, there is a lot of good information on the internet. There truly is. But I recommend you push through and try to figure it out by yourself initially. If you don't understand something, nothing wrong with looking it up. Learn the definitions too, all right? Okay, so at the end of each day, whatever you decide, you'll find a workshop containing a quiz, some exercises. Like I said, I'll maybe do some of that stuff for you guys. Okay, be certain to take the time to answer the questions, right? Just practice, learn, read, grow. Do your review the next day, have a good rest. Let your brain absorb the information. Have a good rest, and make sure you review the next day. When I was in college, I used to come back from college. I would literally go to bed. I don't even know how I survived, because struggling student, I didn't have mommy and daddy, helping me. I had none of that. I was on my own. But I would get back from college. I would literally go to sleep, and then I would wake up at 3 a.m. or something. I think I had water for breakfast. I don't know. I can't remember. It was a while ago. But man, it was a tough time. Struggling student. And that's when I did my best work. Studying at 3. I'd wake up, study, review, do my homework, whatever it was that I needed to do. And then I would go to school all day. And I would come back home, go back to bed, rinse and repeat. So, All right, that's how you got to do it. You figure out your own plan, your own schedule on how you want to do this. Okay. All right. A note to programmers, C programmers. For C programmers, the material in the first 5 days will be familiar to you. Okay, again, once you have a foundation, right, you'll learn quicker too. You could easily go from C to C++, no problem. I think the C line writing is a lot more difficult, in all honesty. So I jumped right to C++. I was going to learn C, but then I thought eventually that's going to be phased out. So that's why I started with C++. Okay, so be certain to skim the material, blah, 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 do exercises. Where are you going? Let's see. Okay, what else? Day 1, getting started. Day 2, the anatomy, a C++ program. Let me continue on. I could read all this, but just follow along, guys. Okay, we'll eventually get into stuff like day 2. It depends on how I'm gonna do this. We're gonna get into the anatomy of C program, working with variables and constants, creating expressions and statements, organizing into functions, learning about classes and objects, object-oriented programming. It's awesome, guys. Once you start running your own programs, man, it's such a good feeling, especially if it's your own code. All right, so teach yourself C++ in 21 days. It takes more than 21 days, guys. 21 days, commit yourself, studying, learning, growing, reading. You'll get all the basics and fundamentals down, right? This is a long journey. It's a long, again, I've been doing this for 3 years now. Okay? And I enjoy it still. Why C++ is a standard in software development? Well, C++ talks directly to the processor. It literally is the main language for a lot of applications. Even, I think, something to do with Xbox and all that. Because it talks straight with the processor. No other language does that. It takes your language, what you type, compiles it, converts it to machine language, and machine language is what the processor works with. Okay, brief history. Computer languages have undergone dramatic evolution since the first electronic computers were built to assist in artillery trajectory calculations. It's basically a parabola if you didn't sleep in mathematics class. Mathematics is another thing I loved. I majored in calculus. The highest level of calculus I got to was Laplace transforms. Yeah, calculus was something else that clicked for me. I loved it. Kind of miss it. Again, this is what I'm doing now. Calculus would be something I'd have to kind of it's been a minute. Derivatives, still kind of remember that stuff. Good times. Anyways, this is what I should have taken. Had I known when I was younger what I should have been doing. Again, hindsight 2020, right? It doesn't matter how old you are, you can always learn something new. The know-it-alls, I can't stand know-it-alls. You probably just unfollowed, don't care. I really can't stand people that think they know everything. There's always something to learn. I don't give a crap who you are. Stop acting like you know everything. There's always something to learn. Okay. So yeah. Have undergone dramatic evolution since the first electronic computers were built to assist in artillery trajectory calculations during World War II. Early on, programmers worked with the most primitive computer instructions, which is machine language. If you don't know what machine language is, if you must have heard binary and zeros and ones, on and off. That's machine language, guys, gals, zeros and ones, bits and bytes. Okay, these instructions were represented by long strings of ones and zeros. Soon, assemblers were invented to map machine instructions to human readable and manageable mnemonics such as ADD or AD and MOV. They probably called it MOV. Okay. In time, higher level languages evolved, such as BASIC. That's kind of what I believe BASIC is what I was learning back in the day. That was the signal right there. That's because when I wrote my first program on a Commodore 64, I know, I just literally aged myself. That was the sign right there. That's when I should have been getting into, I should have took computer science. Again, hindsight's 2020. These languages let people work with something approximating words and sentences referred to as source code. We'll talk about source code in the future, guys. Stay tuned. Something basic that I'm used to, such as let I equal 100 kind of stuff. These instructions were then translated into machine language by interpreters and compilers. This is kind of like for you guys and gals, you can literally treat this like if you like listening to what's that called where you listen to books? That's kind of what I'm doing here. Just chill, lay in bed, listen. Hopefully my voice doesn't annoy you too much. I'm trying here, guys. I'm trying to do a good thing for the world. There's too much toxicity. Oh, the humanity. It's true, though. I'm trying to do a good thing. So many people with an IQ less than 60 that think they're smart. It's crazy. Crazy thoughts. It's funny. An interpreter translate. I believe that's the linker. Interpreter translates and executes a program as it reads, turning the program instructions, your source code, what you write, directly into actions. So it gets your source code essentially gets converted to machine language. And compiler the compiler does the compiling, right? The linker, right? The linker is what links all the object files together. That's right. The compiler does all the compiling. What am I thinking? We'll get this right, guys. The compiler translates source code into an intermediary form. Again, I can't go inside the computer and watch it do its thing, right, guys? Nobody can. This step is called compiling, and it produces an object file. An object file is actually stored in your file explorer on your system, guys. You'll actually be able to look at it and see it in your file system. Okay, it's called an object file. And the linker is what connects all the object files together, but we'll get into that. The compiler then invokes a linker. Oh, look at me, already talking about stuff. Which combines the object file into an executable program, right? Everything's put together. Whenever you double click an icon on your desktop, guys, you're double clicking and you're running an executable. Okay. Because interpreters read the source code as it is written and execute the code on the spot. It should be, sounds like it should be, feels like it should be plural. And executes the code on the spot. Interpreters can be easier for the programmer to work with. Today, most this is kind of 20-year-old. Anyways, today, 20 years ago, most interpreted programs are referred to as scripts. And the interpreter itself is often called a script engine. Again, this stuff is all consistent. It doesn't matter if it's 20 years old. The theory is all the same, guys. Okay, some languages such as Visual Basic 6, now that goes back a ways, call the interpreter the runtime library. Again, that's outdated, I'm sure. So other languages such as the Visual Basic .NET, there is .NET out there, and Java have another component referred to as, that's it, virtual machine, that's what it is. It runs as a virtual machine, these other languages, even C#. That's the terminology I wanted to explain to you guys. I'm like, I'll get that information for you, but it's actually right there. I just read it for you. That's it. That's the information. It runs as a virtual machine or a runtime. I don't know. The VM or runtime is also an interpreter. Interesting. However, it is not a source code interpreter that translates human readable language into computer dependent machine code. Only C++ does this. I hope I'm correct in saying that. Rather, it interprets and executes a compiled computer independent virtual machine language or intermediary language. Okay, that's why C++ is it stands out, right? I don't know how to explain it, but it's the most popular because it literally just direct communicates with the processor, essentially. It doesn't run as a virtual machine as the other languages do. Again, the other languages are kind of like, I hate to say it this way, dumbed down. The way the syntax is written, it's made easier for the, like, C++ is not really a language that is for the people that are not very bright. I hate to say that, guys. I know it sounds mean and everything, but I'm a realist. I will speak truth, okay? I don't fluff things with marshmallows. Okay, it's not for everybody. Now again, if you're part of the 120 and higher IQ club, you'll do just fine. I believe in you. I really do. I support you in this dream to learn C++. Once you get it, you get it. Compilers introduce the extra steps of compiling the source code. Let's get through the theory, guys, first, and then we'll get into some some code. Stay tuned. You gotta follow along, watch the series. I'd like to see a lot of views because eventually I just say, anyways, I'm doing this for you guys. Put in the views, show the commitment, and I'll put in the commitment for you. All right, let's go. Compilers introduce the extra steps of compiling the source code, which is readable by humans, into object code, which is readable by machines. The extra step might seem inconvenient, but compiled programs run very fast because the time-consuming task of translating the source code into machine language has already been done once at compile time. Okay, guys? You'll hear the terms a lot, compile time and runtime, okay? Be aware of that. Because the translation is already done, it is not required when you execute the program. Beautiful. Another advantage of compiled languages such as C++ is that you can distribute the executable program to people who don't have the compiler. Cool. With an interpreted language, you must have the interpreter to run the program, right? C#. That's the difference, guys, right there. Okay? Again, all the other languages, Java, C#, Python, I'm sure, those are all interpreted languages. Okay? Again, virtual machine. They need an interpreter to run the program. Okay? C++ is typically a compiled language, though there are some C++ interpreters. Okay? Like many compiled languages, C++ has a reputation for producing fast but powerful programs. It truly does. Even the language, like the language itself, you could do just so much more with it. You really can. It creates full-blown software applications, okay? All right, I'm just going to throw that out there. Again, I don't know. I don't code in Python, so I don't know, right? What is it used for? Small apps? Small little smartphone programs? I don't know. I don't code in Python. I hate to say it, dumbed down language. Okay, in fact, for many years, the principal goal of computer programmers was to write short pieces of code that would execute quickly, right? You want boom, boom. That's what you want. Programs needed to be small because memory was expensive. Memory is a key thing too, guys, okay? It's a big thing. All right, so we're going to talk about memory a lot. When we talk about memory, we're going to be talking about RAM, essentially. Your temporary memory. That's what the processor uses. It's basically a storage place for the processor. Okay, programs needed to be small because memory was expensive, and needed to be fast because processing power was also expensive. As computers have become smaller, cheaper, and faster, and the cost of memory has fallen, it's been a minute. For a while there, I was doing a lot of computer designing because I also, like the PC that I'm streaming on, I designed it myself. I bought it part by part, and I built it myself. It's also 2+ years old. And I was learning a lot about PCs and keeping up with technology and that. And I was trying to start my own computer PC building company, but man, I just fell through, right? 5 years of getting no work, you just kind of give up. Say, okay, buy your potato Dell system from Dell store. Have that piece of crap. Okay? That was my attitude after a while. All right, go buy your potato, cheapskate. All right, let's continue. So my point is, I don't know, I could still design PCs. I could easily jump back and do that. The cost of them now, I'm not sure where it's at. My focus has been on coding. Okay, these priorities have changed. Today, the cost of a programmer's time far outweighs the cost of most of the computers in use by businesses. Again, businesses are using off-the-shelf potato PCs too. They're all just throw together. It's no different than a PlayStation or an Xbox console. They're just throw togethers and throwaway systems, right? Cheap cheap stuff. It's what it is, being real. But PCs nowadays, the processors are pretty fast, right? So a lot of people are focused on making sure your program doesn't have any issues and it runs fast and that. But processors are pretty quick nowadays. Anyways, you still want to write good code too, though, right? Just because processors are quick nowadays doesn't mean you should slack off, you know? Okay, well-written, easy to maintain code is at a premium. It's still key, right? You're respected if you write good lines of code. You truly are. Okay. Easy. Blah, 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 blah. Where am I here? Okay, I'll just read it again. Easy to maintain means that as requirements change for what the program needs to do, the program can be extended and enhanced without great expense. Here's a note. Fun facts, I guess I could call it. The word program is used in two ways: to describe individual instructions or source code created by the programmer, and to describe an entire piece of executable software. The distinction can cause enormous confusion for the low IQers. So this course tries to distinguish between the source code on one hand and the executable on the other. Okay? Hopefully we'll have an example of that in the future. Near future. Need some coffee? Oh, yeah. Thank you for being here. You're awesome, awesome. Thank you for chillaxing and listening and reading. If my content helps you fall asleep, that's awesome. I still want you to learn, though. Okay. The need for solving problems. The problems programmers are asked to solve today are totally different from the problems they were solving 20 years ago. In the 1980s, programs were created to manage and process large amounts of raw data. The people writing the code and the people using the program were computer professionals. They truly were. Were. Speaking of that, I want to see if I could find the girl, the beautiful lady that wrote the code for the Apollo mission. Let's see if I can find her name. I've got it written here somewhere. Did I write it in here? What? Okay, don't do that. Let's see. Excuse me, guys. Let's see if I can find her name. I'm sure I had it written down at some point. Was it in this? I've got a few WordPad documents. I'm using Windows 11 and I still have WordPad, guys. I have tricks. If you don't know, once a certain version update for Windows 11 actually removed WordPad. Fun facts, things you didn't know. I still have it. Yes. Another beautiful, intelligent lady showed me how to do that too. Yes, girls can make great coders as well. I'm going to paste it in chat, but here we go. Fun facts. There we go. So let me paste it and then I'll read it. Okay, Margaret Hamilton was NASA's first software engineer. Okay, she was NASA's lead developer for the Apollo program. And she wrote all the code by hand that took humanity to the moon in 1969. And there's an image of her. I wonder if I have it. I would have to take a minute to look for it. But the code was all printed out. I think it was all handwritten. I'm not 100% sure. But she's what? She's what, 5'6", 5'7", 5'8"? I'm guessing her height. I could be wrong. But the code that she wrote was in binders and that. It was as tall as her. It's pretty wild. Okay. So that's fun facts for you guys and gals. Those of you that are higher, have an IQ higher than 120. Pretty awesome, isn't it? So in the 1980s, programs were created to manage and process large amounts of raw data. Just so you guys know, I have an IQ higher than 120. The people writing the code and the people using the program were computer professionals. Today, computers are in use by far more people, and most know very little about how computers and programs really work. It's true. Computers are tools used by people who are more interested in solving their business problems than just struggling with the computer. Yeah. Man, I do so much, man. I do my own file management. I do my own network, maintaining my own network, my own peer-to-peer home gaming network, managing that, managing routers, all that stuff. Building PCs, doing software, troubleshooting, fixing software issues, because that happens a lot. Troubleshooting, researching, fixing bugs. Computers, they just have a mind of their own. One day they're working great, and then the next day it's like, what broke today? It's really weird. Okay. All right. Let's see. Ironically, as programs are made easier for this new audience to use, the programs themselves become far more sophisticated and complex. Again, when you get into higher level line coding, I'm not trying to scare you off, right? But get the fundamentals down, you'll be fine. Syntax and semantics and understanding theory is key. I'm just going to let you know. Gone are the days when users typed in cryptic commands at esoteric prompts only to see a stream of raw data. Today's programs use sophisticated, user-friendly interfaces involving multiple windows, menus, dialog boxes. Dialog boxes are your pop-ups, and the myriad of metaphors with which we've all become familiar. With the development of the web, computers entered a new era of market penetration. I'd rather write PC applications. I'm not a fan of writing code for internet and creating internet pages. That's boring to me. I would really get bored. That's lame sauce. Not something for me. Let's see, where am I here? With the development of the web, computers entered a new era of market penetration. More people are using computers than ever before, and their expectations, I already read this. The ease at which people can use the web has also increased the expectations. It is not uncommon for people to expect that programs take advantage of the web and what it has to offer. In the past few years, applications have expanded to different devices as well. No longer is a desktop PC the only serious target for applications. Rather, we have, of course, mobile phones, personal digital assistants, PDAs, tablet PCs, and other devices are valid targets for modern applications. Now, tablets and laptops, they're popular. They're really potatoes too, but the bonus or the benefits they have is the mobility, right? Obviously, you can't carry a PCs like my PC itself, man. It feels like it's 75 pounds carrying that thing. It's not, but it feels like it. Again, laptops, that's why they have high sales, is because of, carryability, mobility. It's only, otherwise they're just still potatoes. Okay. In the few years since the first edition of this course, programmers have responded to the demands of users, and thus their programs have become larger and more complex. The need for programming techniques to help manage this complexity has become manifest. As programming requirements change, both languages and the techniques used for writing programs evolve to help programmers manage complexity. Although the complete history is fascinating, this course only focuses briefly on the key part of this evolution: the transformation from procedural programming to object-oriented programming. Again, that's to get into that. C didn't have that. It didn't have OOP, whereas C++ does. Object-oriented programming, that's getting into classes and creating objects and instantiating and all that stuff, which we'll get into. Stay tuned. You're going to enjoy this. Again, get excited, get pumped into learning this. You're going to love it. Once you write your own code, it's such a good feeling. I'm telling you. It really is. I'm still learning too, guys. There's always something to learn because it gets really, it gets to, I don't want, let's just stay positive, right? You're always going to be learning something. Like, there's so much out there in C++ to learn. There really, truly is. Okay? To help improve and make code, better. So many different commands and different applications and uses and different types of syntax and semantics. Lots of stuff. It's pretty awesome. Lots out there for us to learn and to try and to level up our coding. Right? Excuse me, guys. Today I was kind of getting into doing a little bit of it almost was on the tip of my tongue. Let's see if I can find it. I've got it here in a document in Notepad. Let's see if I can find where I wrote it. I know I have it here. Lambda expressions. Those are awesome too. For looping, for eaching through a vector. It's pretty awesome. I love it. Anyways, that's kind of, we'll get there. We'll get to that point. Lots to learn still, guys, gals. Lots to learn. Let's get the basics down, okay? Repetition and review. Always get a good sleep. Review the next day. Rinse and repeat. Stay positive, right, guys, gals? Don't let it deter you, okay? You got to persevere, all right? If you really, truly want to learn this, you have to put in the time. You have to tell people to get lost and leave you alone. And then say, I love you, right? Get lost, leave me alone, I love you. And there you go. Okay, procedural, structured, and object-oriented programming. Until recently, computer programs were thought of as a series of procedures, that acted upon data. A procedure, also called a function or a method. You'll hear the two terms, function and method. You'll hear it synonymously. They really are the same thing. The only thing different, I'll just let you know right now, methods are part of a class. It's still a function. They just call it methods when the function is part of a class. That's all it is. Okay, we'll get into that. Okay, is a set of specific instructions executed one after the other. The data was quite separate from the procedures, and the trick in programming was to keep track of which functions called which other functions and what data was changed. To make sense of this potentially confusing situation, I don't know why they're saying confusing. Don't let it confuse you, right? Open mind. If you get to the point where you feel frustrated or confused, just take a break, walk away. Go for a nap, go for a walk, whatever you want to do. And then just come back. Think about it, walk away, spend time thinking. It's always good too. Structured programming was created. Okay, the principal idea behind structured programming is the idea of divide and conquer. A computer program can be thought of as consisting of a set of tasks. Any task that is any task that is too complex to be described simply is broken down into a set of smaller component tasks, right? That's a good idea with functions as well. You don't want a 3-page function. You just don't, okay? You'll understand functions in the future. KISS method, I call it. Keep it simple, Stanley, right? We'll get to that point. You want to keep functions kind of generic. Do a simple task. You don't want a function doing many tasks. Okay? All right. You just create new functions to do that. They're called helper functions. Okay, until the tasks are sufficiently small and self-contained enough that they are each easily understood. As an example, computing the average salary of every employee of a company is a rather complex task. I mean, we could do it as humans, grind it out on paper, or use Excel or whatever. You can do it, but if you can write a program that does it quicker for you, it's awesome. It's a good feeling when you do that too. You can, however, break it down into the following subtasks. 1, count how many employees you have, right? You need to know the number. 2, find out what each employee earns, right? You'll need the documentation for that. Total all the salaries. This is kind of like doing mean, median, and mode, right? In statistics class. Divide the total by the number of employees you have, which would be the mean or average, right? It's a pretty easy program to do, I think. Totaling the salaries can be broken down into the following steps. Get each employee's record. I mean, you could easily do this on an Excel spreadsheet. Access the salary, add the salary to the running total, and get the next employee's record. In turn, obtaining each employee's record can be broken down into the following. Open the file of the employees. Of course, you'd have to have full privilege access to that. Go to the correct record and then read the data. Structured programming remains an enormously successful approach for dealing with complex problems. By the late 1980s, however, some of the deficiencies of structured programming had become all too clear. First, a natural desire is to think of data, such as employee records, right? And what you can do with that data, sort, edit, and so on as a single idea. Unfortunately, structured programs separate data structures from the functions that manipulate them, and there is no natural way to group data with its associated functions within structured programming. Structured programming is often called procedural programming because of its focus on procedures rather than on objects. Okay? I believe C was doing procedural programming. That would be the C language. So it's kind of not a topic I'm too familiar with. I'm very familiar with procedural. The statement structured programming is often called procedural programming because of its focus on procedures rather than on objects. So kind of what I was trying to get to is a more educated, experienced, obviously coding in C++. The term is called object-oriented programming, or OOP. Okay? This I am more familiar with. Object-oriented programming responds to these programming requirements, providing techniques for managing enormous complexity, achieving reuse of software components, and coupling data with the tasks that manipulate that data. The essence of object-oriented. I don't know why I want to say orientated. It's weird. My brain. Object-oriented programming is to model objects. You'll see what objects are, guys. You'll see. Objects make the magic happen. Okay? That is things or concepts rather than data. Okay? The objects you model might be on-screen widgets, such as buttons and list boxes, or they might be real-world objects, such as customers, bicycles, airplanes, cats, and water. They're saying that because you could just kind of think of it that way, but you'll hear the term objects a lot in coding, okay? All right, objects have, this is all in relation to classes, okay, guys and gals, when we get into classes, all right? Objects have characteristics, also called properties or attributes, such as age, fast, spacious, black, or wet, right? They're really attributes, right? They also have capabilities, also called operations or functions, right? Objects can access a function and make the magic happen. Okay, such as purchase, accelerate, fly, purr, or bubble. It's great when you create your functions. They're fun. It is the job of object-oriented programming to represent these objects in the programming language. Now, I don't know how long I should make this. I know I'm not really going through this too quickly. It's not too bad. Again, if you're watching it, I'm not really watching because I kind of have a screensaver kind of going, I guess. If you're listening and chillaxing and learning, you're awesome sauce. You can pause, take a break, have a nap, do what you want, and then always come back, right? And continue. Let's go! All right. Let me quench my thirst again. Okay. Here we go. C++, and object-oriented programming. If I say OOP or OOP, that's what I'm talking about, okay? C++ fully supports OOP. We'll just call it OOP. All right? Including the 3 pillars of object-oriented development. You'll hear the term encapsulation. That's basically hiding, making your variables hidden, not accessible. That's encapsulation. Inheritance, being able to inherit it. It's kind of like parent-child type stuff, if you have an understanding of that. And polymorphism, which we'll get into. We'll talk about that more. Okay, encapsulation. When an engineer needs to add a resistor to the device she is creating, she doesn't typically build a new one from scratch, right? This is an example for you guys and gals, right? Help you understand. I remember my first year electrical engineering, we were doing, man, that was fun actually. Then I ended up changing my degree, guys. Again, hindsight's 2020. You're young, as the saying goes, young, dumb, and full of barnacles. You don't know what to do because you're still wet behind the ears, right? There's so much, you guys, gals, so much to learn. It truly is. Like, you don't really know what you want to do, right? I always say, focus on your strengths, your interests, whatever your strengths are. Like for me, it was mathematics. I didn't mind the coding in that. I wish I clued in when I was younger. Maybe your thing is writing. Maybe you're really great at writing essays and that, right? You want to focus on that. Focus on your strengths. That's kind of what I'm getting at, right? That's my recommendation. If you can clue in what you want to do in life, right from early on. Again, I went from electrical engineering to jumped into engineering, design, and drafting because the drafting kind of caught my attention. I'm like, ooh, this is cool. So I ended up transferring. Design and drafting was fun and all, but I'm not doing that now. Coding is definitely what I'm doing right now. Anyways, didn't mean to go on that aside, but let's go back. It just kind of reminded me of my past when I read the word resistor, testing and doing all that. It was kind of fun. So she walks over to a bin of resistors, right? Just a random bin of resistors. They're all loose. Examines the colored bands, right? They have meaning, those colored bands. Basically ohms. That indicate the properties, and picks the one she needs. So she grabs a random one. Hopefully she, understands the coding. You can't be colorblind being in electrical engineering or an electrician, just to let you know. If you're colorblind, avoid that. It's not your career. Just saying. Now, there's nothing wrong with being colorblind, okay? Nothing at all. But as a heads up, if you are, they don't tend to hire people that are colorblind, right? Because you're working with color-coded wiring, right, and such. The resistor has color coding on it as well. Okay, let's see. She examines the bands that indicate the properties and picks one she needs. The resistor is a black box as far as the engineer is concerned. She doesn't much care how it does its work as long as it conforms to her specification. She doesn't need to look inside the box to use it in her design. Okay. I imagine they're talking about how it's genetic makeup. and it's really the wrong terminology, but you kind of understand it's makeup, I think, is what they're referring to, that she doesn't need to look inside. Okay, the property of being a self-contained unit is called encapsulation. With encapsulation, you can accomplish data hiding, right? Only certain things can access that data, right? We'll learn that. Okay, stay tuned. Data hiding is the highly valued characteristic that an object can be used without the user knowing or caring how it works internally. Just as you can use a refrigerator without knowing how the compressor works. You can use a well-designed object without knowing about its internal workings. Changes can be made to those workings without affecting the operation of the program, as long as the specifications are met. Just as the compressor in a refrigerator can be replaced with another one of similar design. Again, there's professionals that know how to fix that stuff and change them out. It's not something I've ever done. I know about it, but I don't really have a lot of experience on compressors. Just kind of get the idea. You understand the concept. You kind of have an idea what it does. As long as your food's good in the fridge, we really don't care, do we? Similarly, when the engineer uses the resistor, she need not to know anything about the internal state of the resistor, right? It's makeup, how they make it, you know? You understand, like when you've taken electrical engineering or whatever, you understand what a resistor does in regards to what it does with current. Anyways, that's another topic entirely. All the properties of the resistor are encapsulated in the resistor object. They are not spread out through the circuitry. It is not necessary to understand how the resistor works to use it effectively, which is true. You just have to understand the concept of what it does and its purpose, right? Its workings are hidden inside the resistor's case. Basically, a resistor resists the flow of electricity. It's kind of like, think of a garden hose. If you crimp the garden hose when it's running, you're basically making a resistor, right? C++ supports encapsulation through the creation of user-defined types called classes. You'll see how to create classes on day 6, apparently. We'll see. Basically, not on day 6, but when we get to the course outline of understanding object-oriented programming, OOP. After being created, a well-defined class acts as a fully encapsulated entity. It is used as a whole unit. The actual inner workings of the class can be hidden. Users of a well-defined class do not need to know how the class works. They just need to know how to use it. I mean, you kind of have to have an understanding what's up too, right? Well, you guys will learn all the different parts and what they do. We'll get there, okay? Gotta just have the theory down, right? Inheritance and reuse. When the engineers at Acme Motors want to build a new car, they have two choices. They can start from scratch, or they can modify an existing model. Perhaps their star model is nearly perfect. But they want to add a turbocharger and a 6-speed transmission. The chief engineer prefers not to start from the ground up, but rather to say, let's build another star. But let's add these additional capabilities. We'll call the new model a whatever, just another version of the star, Just another random name. It's not really that important. This is just kind of an example, help you understand the ins and outs of coding to a degree, right? Let's carry on. Okay, C++ supports inheritance. With inheritance, you can declare a new type that is an extension of an existing type. I believe what they're talking about there is a parent-child sort of thing. You have, they're talking about derived classes, I believe. This new subclass, I'm about to read that. This new subclass is said to derive from the existing type and is sometimes called a derived type. So their point is with this vehicle, you're taking one vehicle. I don't know, it doesn't make sense to redesign the whole vehicle, but whatever. It depends on if the transmission will mount to that engine. Let's just carry on. Polymorphism. A new type of vehicle might respond differently than the original does when you press down on the accelerator. I mean, I guess it could have a different feeling. The new vehicle might engage fuel injection and a turbocharger. They're just using this as an example, guys and gals. Whereas the original simply lets gasoline into its carburetor. Okay? Right? That's old school, new school, essentially. A user, however, does not have to know about these differences. He just floors it and the right thing happens, depending on which vehicle they're driving, right? A lot of people don't understand what's happening under the hood. You'll hear that concept too with coding, under the hood. Right? With coding, you kind of have to understand what's happening under the hood, and that's why we're doing this. C++ supports the idea that different objects do the right thing through what is called function polymorphism and class polymorphism. I know they sound like weird technical words, scary words, guys. We're gonna just say these words, but this is a long time down the road. We're going to get it before we get into polymorphism, okay? So don't let these words scare you right now, right? We're going to start off easy, okay? The basics. Poly means many, and morph means form. Polymorphism refers to the same name taking many forms. So eventually we're going to get into that. So don't worry about it too much right now. Just a word. Just a fancy word. Okay, as object-oriented analysis, design, and programming began to catch on, I hope I say his name right. He's a coder. Bjarne Stroustrup. I believe he's Danish, took the most popular language for commercial software development, C, and extended it to provide the features needed to facilitate OOP. Guys, the guy's pretty intelligent. He basically refactored C. Basically. Man, that guy's at another level of coding. Trust. Okay, although it is true that C++ is a superset of C, and that virtually any legal C program is a legal C++ program, the leap from C to C++ is very significant. C++ benefited from its relationship to C for many years because C programmers could ease into their use of C++. To really get the full benefit of C++, however, many programmers found that they had to unlearn much of what they knew, right? Which is probably true, right? Because, again, syntax is quite different. And originally I wanted to learn C first. I thought, I better learn C first, and then I could get into C. I recommend, I don't know how much, if people are still writing in C. They probably are. But I would assume eventually C is going to get phased out and C++ is going to take over. So that's my thinking. That's why I just went straight to learning C++. Okay. However, many programmers found that they had to unlearn much of what they knew and learn a new way of conceptualizing and solving programming problems. Really, the concepts are the same. The gist, like memory allocation, variables, that's all the same, guys. It really is. A lot of the theory is the same. Of course, you have object-oriented programming in C++, whereas you didn't have that in C. Okay? All right, should I learn C first? Is the question. I already gave you that answer, but we'll read this. I'll read it. The question inevitably arises, because C++ is a superset of C, should you learn C first? Strauss, Strupp, and most other C++ programmers agree that not only is it unnecessary to learn C first, it might be advantageous not to do so. Okay, so they're recommending not. So my thinking was kind of smart. C programming is based on structured programming concepts. C++ is based on object-oriented programming. So the way about it is quite different. Okay, the way about how you write and script between the two languages, that's kind of what I'm getting at. If you learn C first, you'll have to unlearn the bad habits fostered by C. Okay. All right. This course does not assume you have any prior programming experience. So the course basically assumes you are new. Okay. If you are a C programmer, however, the first few days of this course will largely be review. Starting on later on, you'll begin the real work of object-oriented software development. Okay, so that'll be a new concept for anybody that learns C first. Okay. C++, Java, and C Sharp. Repeat. C++ is one of the predominant languages for the development of commercial software. In recent years, Java has challenged that dominance. I sneer. However, many of the programmers who left C++ for Java However, many of the programmers who left C++ for Java have recently began to return. I know why. Because they probably would have went, this is way too easy, and this is for those that have an IQ lower than 60. Just jokes, guys. Just jokes. Why so serious? In any case, the two languages are so similar that to learn one is to learn 90% of the other. I'm not interested in learning Java. Don't care. But I did learn C Sharp. I enjoyed it. C Sharp is a newer language developed by Microsoft for the .NET platform. Eventually, I got into doing WinForms and WPF and UWP applications. That's fun. C Sharp uses essentially the same syntax as C++. So you can learn C Sharp too, guys. C Sharp's cool. And although the languages are different in a few important ways, learning C++ provides a majority of what you need to know about C sharp. So you can go from C++ to C sharp easy, guys. And I recommend you learn C sharp as well. Should you later decide to learn C sharp, the work you do on C++ will be an excellent investment. So what you learn here, you're going to easily flow into C sharp. It'll be easy for you to learn. And it's not that dumbed down, guys. Okay. Microsoft's managed extensions to C++. With .NET, Microsoft introduced managed extensions to C++, in quotes, called Managed C++. This is an extension of the C++ language to allow it to use Microsoft's new platform and libraries. We'll talk about libraries soon here. More importantly, Managed C++ allows a C++ programmer to take advantage of the advanced features of the .NET environment. Should you decide to develop specifically for the .NET platforms, you'll need to extend your knowledge of standard C++ to include these extensions to the language. I'm just trying to think, like managed C++, something I haven't really come across, because again, I was delving into .NET stuff. WinForms, WPF, and UWP applications, writing XAML code, XAML, not XML. That was fun. But I'm going to leave it at that. I ended up going back. I just got away from doing XAML and went back to grinding C++ and probably eventually got into using Unity, which is a 2D, 3D game interface where you do a lot of your coding in C sharp. Okay. The ANSI standard. Okay. ANSI. The Accredited Standards Committee, operating under the procedures of the American National Standards Institute, has created an international standard for C++. The C++ standard is also referred to as the ISO, International Organization for Standardization. These are concepts I knew about even when I was design and drafting, because they have control of that as well. The NCITS, National Committee for Information Technology, so IT essentially, standards. The X3, the old name for NCITS standard, and the ANSI/ISO standard. Let's carry forward. I know we're kind of talking about some boring stuff, but we'll read it out. The ANSI standard is an attempt to ensure that C++ is portable, ensuring everything has to have standards and controls, right? So that it's common throughout. Okay, so you don't have any conflictions and errors and issues and problems. And you got to have a standard across the board, essentially. Ensuring, for example, that ANSI standard compliant code you write for Microsoft's compiler will compile without errors using a compiler from any other vendor. Further, because the code in this course is ANSI compliant, it should compile without errors on a Mac or a Windows or an Alpha. Whatever an Alpha is. That is a new term for me. Of course, I know what a Mac is. I know what Linux is. I know what Windows is. For most students of C++, The ANSI standard is invisible. This is stuff we don't really care about, right, guys and gals? It's just, background information that you need to know about, but it's really not that important for coding. Just be aware there's a standard, okay? Keep in mind that not all compilers are fully compliant with the standard. Okay, so when you're downloading your IDE, you should make sure of that. Is it ANSI compliant? In addition, some areas of the standard have been left open to the compiler vendor, which cannot be trusted to compile or operate in the same fashion when compiled with various brands of compilers. Okay. Fun fact: because the managed extensions to C++ only apply to the .NET platform and are not ANSI standard, they are not covered. Okay, that's good. So we don't have to worry about talking about. All right, preparing the program. How much more do I have reading? Should I turn this into turn this into maybe another video for you guys and gals? We'll leave that for you to absorb. So I'm at preparing the program. So yeah, we're going to get into more theory and fundamentals and syntax and semantics. Stay tuned for the next video, guys and gals. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Again, you're 120 and higher IQ club. If you're watching and listening, man, you're awesome. You truly are. All right, leave it at that. I'll see you guys and gals in the next stream, live stream video. Appreciate you watching. Whoever you are, wherever you are, take care wherever you are. Wherever you are. That is it. Johnny here. Well, Whiskey Tango coding really is kind of the direction I'm going right now, but here we are. Appreciate you wherever you are. Take care for now, and peace out, guys. Peace.
Maybe I don't understand this.